and welcome back to these YouTube streets where we're not new to this, we're true to this, okay? Today, we are going to make lasagna, a low carb lasagna. I didn't necessarily follow a recipe, just finessing some, okay? We're just finessing and putting it together on the plate, okay? So I'm using my sauce that I had made already days before, lower in carbs than buying the actual sauce from the store. Remember, they have to put extra stuff in their sauce to preserve it when it's already pre-packaged. So it has the garlic, the onions, the spices and things in there already, and it's been sitting for a couple of days, so it's good to go. For our noodles, we're gonna use zucchini. So I had already cut it up. My cutting skills are not, all that's okay. So I had cut it out and I laid it out so it can dry a little bit. So we're not going to use all this for one because I'm using a small pan for this. So I'll probably get like two small pans out of this. So you're going to sprinkle your noodles with salt so that way it can draw up some more of the moisture because you want it as dry as possible, okay? It would be better if I can actually have it spread out a little bit more so it's not as layered. So we're just gonna sprinkle salt, okay? And then why not sprinkle salt to this? Because seasonings, okay? Seasonings are our friends. So the thing is about any diet situation that you may be trying or doing, use your seasonings, okay? Don't be afraid to use seasoning. Your food do not have to taste bland. Just because the recipes say something a specific way, you can add more seasoning to it, or you can add seasoning as you go per what you like, okay? Cover that back up to hopefully dry up more of that moisture. I am using the Italian sauces from HEB. I'm using the mild. Make sure your local grocery store has some type of Italian sauces that's already prepared. Using the other sauce, I would add garlic, onions, and things like that to your meat, okay? So that way it has those flavors in it. But because I'm using something that already has it, that has flavor in it, because you can use ground beef, okay? You can use ground beef, you can use turkey and things like that. So you don't have to use Italian sauces. So like if you don't like pork or you don't want pork in your diet, you can use beef, you can use turkey, okay? You can use turkey sauces also. If you use beef, of course, add your seasonings to it, your Italian, your garlic, your onions and things like that also to give it that flavor that you want. But because I'm using a meat option that already has spices in it, I'm not gonna add any more to it, especially with the sauce, because the sauce, how I made it, and the seasoning that I put in there, it's gonna be overkill with that. So just be careful on how you do that, okay? Set it on medium to high heat, so that way it can start browning. And you wanna make sure, especially because it's pork, that it's cooked all the way through. No pink, no rawness to it. You want to cook it all the way through before you add your sauce. So we're going to let it do that. Okay. All right, it's time to cook. See what it does. See what it do. Don't want to come off, do you? No, you don't. I don't understand. So, we have our ricotta cheese, our egg, our Parmesan cheese that we're gonna mix together. So you don't have to use ricotta cheese, you can use cottage cheese. It is a little bit lower in carbs, but because I made my sauce and it's low in carbs, I'm gonna go ahead and use ricotta cheese, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna mix your egg and your Parmesan cheese. So it's one egg, a half a cup of Parmesan cheese, and 16 ounces of roast onion. That's what I have. Find it. And I am going to use parsley flake. So I'm using parsley flake because of the recipe that I used to use a long time ago before this whole, you know, change in my lifestyle eating habits. I use parsley flake. You know, we can finesse, we can do how we want to do. So you don't have to use it. It's totally up to you. It's totally up to you. And I'm going to use a little bit of salt. Just a little bit. And mix it up together very well. So this ricotta cheese is the only brand cheese that I saw in the store when I went. And as you guys know, groceries are becoming less and less unavailable. So I don't really like the texture of this one. Usually I get the HEB brand ricotta cheese when I do this. This one is a little bit more runny than I'm used to. But like I said, that was available when I went grocery shopping. So I'm going to break this up to smaller pieces as possible. You want to do it. If you want big chunks, then, you know, go ahead. If you are using ground beef and everything, I would saute my onions and your garlic or minced garlic first and butter. And then add your Italian seasoning, relish, your basil and parsley flakes and things like that to it. And then, you know, add your ground beef. So just know zucchini is gonna be more watery because of course we're not using noodles. So if we were using noodles, then we wouldn't have to do this extra part. We'll just have to boil the noodles and add it in. But because we're using this vegetable, we don't have to pre-cook them because they're already soft. And also I sliced up 4 zucchinis. I sliced up 4 of them. And like I said, I just use a knife. If you have an actual cutter to slice them up with, use that so that way you get even slices if you like. But I used what I had available at the time. So you don't need all the fancy gadgets right away if you don't have them, you know? There is other alternative. I am going to drain grease off of it. Heat your oven at 350. By the time you're done putting your stuff together, layering it, your oven is already preheated. I be forgetting to say that because the oven I have, I don't have to preheat it for long. It only takes a couple of seconds because it's not like a typical oven that I have to wait for. So it is cooked all the way through. I'm just trying to break up the bigger piece as much as possible, so that way it's not chunky. You don't have to use the mild pork Britannia sauces. You can use hot if you like it extremely spicy, or you can use Italian seasoned sauces. So it's totally up to you and who you're preparing it for. Also, I'm gonna add my sauce. I'm gonna eyeball it. I don't even know the measurement of these jars, to be honest. I just know the sauce I prepared, I was able to fill 3 jars of them up. I may need it, I may not need all the sauce. I want to see how it just, yeah, I'm gonna use some more sauce. I'm gonna add like a half of this, about half of this. A little bit about half. We're gonna let that simmer. If I can let y'all look. So that's what it looked like. And we're gonna let it simmer. Okay. Turn it up, the heat up. Turn up the heat. With this, I would prepare this a day before that I'm actually gonna have it. And I would do the whole process. I would bake it, and then I would let it cool down, room temperature, then put it in a refrigerator for at least overnight. So that way the noodles, your noodles, will absorb all of the flavors and everything. But you can eat it the day of, but you are going to have to let it sit for at least 30 to 40 minutes to let it cool down, because if you cut it too early, it's going to be really runny, because the vegetables need to sit for a little bit so it can just solidify like it needs to, so it's not runny with the extra water that the vegetable is holding inside of them. So just keep that in mind. So this would be something to prepare ahead of time, especially you know what time you like to start dinner. Just make sure that you allow enough time for it to settle. So you can put it in the refrigerator for a little bit also to help cool it down. That's not something you just serve hot out of the oven type thing. You do need it to set. Okay, you do need it to sit for a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my pan. This is the pan that I'm using. It is 8 by 8. Okay, 8 by 8. And we're going to go ahead and layer. First thing you want to do, you want to add sauce to the bottom of the pan. Before you add anything else, you want to add some of your sauce. It's a nice little layer. Spread it out. And then we're gonna add our noodles, because they're our noodles. Our zucchini, because that is our noodles, okay? That is our noodles that we're using. And you can layer how you like to layer them. There is no like, oh my gosh, you did it wrong. To me, there's not, okay? So, and I'm thinking I'm gonna have enough noodles. I'm gonna have leftover noodles. I'm thinking, I'm not quite sure. All right, so then we're gonna use our ricotta cheese. Oh, and I forgot, we are gonna use mozzarella cheese, okay? We are gonna use mozzarella cheese. I did not say that. So we're going to layer on and spread it on our noodles. Nice little layer of ricotta cheese, okay? Of our ricotta cheese mixture, okay? You can also use eggplant if you want to do that for your noodle substitute, or there is a recipe where you use cheese, eggs, and some other things, and you bake it and you make your own homemade noodles. But I didn't want to do that one because I just feel like it's just too much cheese. Sometimes it's just too much cheese and you just don't want all that, okay? I'm trying to let y'all see options. There's options available. You don't have to be bored with your food. You do have options, okay? Because I know that some people complain is options. We're gonna add more salt. You can chop down your tomatoes. They don't have to be chunky like that. I just didn't do it for this one. This is also good if you just want to make spaghetti. If you get a spaghetti squash and you bake it, this will be good for spaghetti. Even the sauce and what we just did right here. You can use the same thing for spaghetti. All right, and get some more of my slices of veggies. Okay, my veggies. So once again, we're gonna add some more of our ricotta cheese mix and put it on the noodle. I keep saying noodle because I'm so used to using noodles with this. I haven't made this in like a very long time. And the last time I made this, I made it with noodles. So you're gonna use your zucchini, put it on there nicely. Put it on there. And then of course, our mozzarella cheese. And our sauce. So it'll be better if you had a deeper pan and you had more layers in here and everything. But I used the pan that I had available, okay? So depending on your pan size, it's depending on how many layers and how deep your pan is and how many layers you could get in and all the things, okay? All I'm gonna be able to do in this pan. I'm pretty sure I could add more if I want. Just because I want to. Not because you have to, but because I want to. You don't have to do this. I'm just being extra right now. That's just me and how I roll sometimes. Just extra for no reason, okay? Alright, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna let my oven come on all the way like it needs to. You're just gonna add cheese to the top. Just add cheese to the top. Yeah. You could add some shredded Parmesan cheese to the top if you have some, if you like. If you wished to, it is so up to you. So we're gonna let this bake for like 30 to 40 minutes, okay? 30 to 40 minutes on 350, okay? Want to make sure nothing's on the edge. Put that in there. Right. And we're gonna let it bake. Okay? We're gonna let that bake. Ow! Coming in hot. Wake them up. Wake them up. I see sleep, so I had to shake it up. Shake it up, shake it, shake it. Let me stop. So we're gonna check on our lasagna, and I am satisfied with the way it looks. Okay, it's been baking for 30 minutes. Get out. And voila, that's what we have. That's the end result of that. Okay. So like I said, you are going to let it sit, okay? If you're going to serve it the day of, let it sit for 30 to 40 minutes. I would let it sit and that's time to cool it down as much as possible before I put it in the refrigerator to let it cool down even more. I would not put it in the refrigerator right now, okay? Because it's really hot. Get it a little to room temperature and then sit it in the refrigerator. Some people might put it in the freezer to let it cool down. So it's totally up to you and your preference. With these types of vegetables, they go bad quickly, okay? So once they've been cut and cooked and things like that, they're already starting to go down the line of being expired, okay? And you don't want to wait too long because then your vegetables will have a taste to it that you're not gonna like. It's gonna pretty much spoil quickly. So be mindful with that. So don't reserve it for more than 3 to 4 days if you're gonna do that. But it is something that you can prepare ahead of time, put it together, and then serve it the next day or the next day over. So that is totally up to you and how you want to do it. Because I know some people like to cook things, prepare things like on the weekend, and then during the week be able to just warm it up and keep it moving. So it is a dish like that you can prepare ahead of time, a couple of days ahead of time, to plan out your meal for the week. Also, with this, I would just serve a salad with it, to be honest. I know there's already vegetables in it, but serving a salad with it will be just fine. I like to use spinach leaves and just put together a simple salad with it. Cheese, no cheese, it just depends on what type of salad you want for that day. I go through the different salads that I make. I do like to add avocado to my salad and things like that. So it just depends on your type of salad. I would not add the croutons. Those are high in carbs. They do have little cheddar, circle little cheddar thingies. I forgot what they're called right now. But they're like crackers, and you could put those in your salad if you still want that crunch of a crouton. So there is other options to give you that crunch, or whatever the case may be that you feel like you're missing out on. So just be careful when you're making your salads. You look at the carbs of your vegetables and things like that, because that is going to give you more carbs in your diet, and you need to pay attention to if you're doing something a low carb lifestyle. So just keep those things in mind. I'm not sure what the carb per serving of this would be. I can't remember off the top of my head. The recipe I looked at, the carbs, it said like five net carbs or something like that. So it would pretty much be about the same. The only difference that you would have to look at is the ricotta cheese versus the cottage cheese. I did not use cottage cheese, I use ricotta cheese. But cottage cheese is lower in carbs than the ricotta cheese, at least what I had available in my store. But because I made my sauce from scratch, I already cut down on the carbs, and I picked and choose like what I want to substitute to increase the carbs in mine. I'm just sharing dishes and things with you guys, but I am not certified. I'm not a health professional or anything like that. I'm just sharing like different things so you know that, okay, doing keto can be fun, can be enjoyable. I can do this, and showing you different ways that you can prepare food, whether it's a little bit on the complex side or how to simplify it if you're a beginner cooker. Because with this generation coming up, everything's pretty much microwave, which is very interesting to me because, it's very interesting. I understand using the microwave to, for certain things, but everything just can't be microwave. I think that's just a little overboard, and where you get that's just me and my opinion, okay? And how I was raised, right? So let it sit, cut into it like the regular lasagna, and then voila, that's your lasagna. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you try it. Change things to it, try something different, add different seasonings to it that you may like. With this recipe, with the marinara sauce, I did use red pepper flakes. My red pepper flakes, so it does have a little spice to it already. So if you don't like your sauce to be spicy, I did make another sauce that doesn't have this in it that is less spicy. So if you're have a sensitivity to spicy food, I suggest using the other sauce that I prepared, that I use for pizza sauce actually. So there is different sauces with different seasonings and flavors in it. So you just modify it how you need. This sauce did have onions in it. If you don't like onions, take the onions out. That's perfectly fine. Or if you're allergic to onions, because I know someone who's allergic to onions, just take the onions out. Don't even add it. So just know yourself, know your body, know what you can handle and not handle, and just modify the recipe to what will work best for you and or your family that you might be serving it to. So don't totally just take this as, oh, this is how the recipe is, but you know somebody's allergic, or you know somebody, can't handle certain flavors and things like that. So just make sure that you modify. Feel free to modify and be creative in your own kitchen. So that's the whole goal, to just modify things. I find things all the time and I modify it, and I just be creative as I want to be. For the beginner cooker, I understand that you might not want to experiment too much outside of that, but simple modifications you can do. Like you could taste your sauce before you actually put it together to make sure that you are okay with the flavors in it, and then modify it from there. Add, whatever other seasonings that you want to it and things like that. So yeah, feel free to explore. Don't be afraid to explore. Just keep in mind that you're paying attention to the back of whatever you're using to make sure the carbs are as low as possible, and make sure there's not a lot of sugar in it and things like that. So you're mainly watching carbs and sugar, and your items that you're buying and preparing is carbs and sugar. So just be mindful of those things, those two things, carbs and sugar, when you're cooking or creating any meal. If you want to stay low carb, if you're just doing it just to try different recipes and things like that, then feel free to add what you need to add. So once again, thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you try it. Like, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things. And see you next time. We are out of these YouTube streets, okay? We are out of the YouTube streets today. Bye. Why not? I am the best, better than the rest. I ain't gotta flex. God got the plan. I ain't gotta flex because God got the plan. I don't even got the plan, but God got the plan. The streets.